shifting and dynamic market. Real estate is moving, and it's moving quickly. What are you doing in this market to predict and prepare for what is going on and what is to come?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on the podcast. I think it's really important to share ideas and collaborate. You know, we are a community and we need to share that. So again, thanks for putting this together, especially all the behind the scenes from One Street as well. So just want to thank everybody there. But look, you know, we're in 2022, you know, there's tons of bad headlines in the news, etc. It's very hard not to get caught up in that because, you know, everything's doomsday, right? They have to report something. But reality is that you have to understand your foundation and your box and what you're working with. And the good news is that, yeah, I've been in this for almost, this is my third decade, right? And I've been through 2001. I've been through 2008. I've been through COVID. It doesn't mean that that is going to line me up for today. However, it's giving me the fight or flight. It's giving me the planning and the strategy and the execution mindset and to be obsessed with my business. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not working just for myself. I'm working for a lot of people collectively. So, you know, look, what goes up goes down, and life has cycles, and there's a track record for things. And so, you know, again, while I'm not a betting man, what I do know is if you throw something in the air, at some point it will come down, and then you have to pivot and adapt. So for us, you know, months ago, kind of saw the writing on the wall that at some point, this la la land mirage of COVID and all the money being printed, somebody's going to have to pay for it. And, you know, ultimately our success is tied to our vision and our fundamentals and our assembly line and what we put together here for our group of agents, which is our foundation and our residential side, and of course our commercial side. However, I went ahead early on this year and hired about an extra 8 people in our inside sales department, which made a total of 10. Why did I do that? Well, in my eyes, if things start to constrict a little bit, that means that, you know, you don't realize that real estate's a contact sport. So the more contacts you have, the more relationships you have,
100%.
The more potential opportunity you have. And so I said to myself, okay, well, while I'm anchored in, we get 30, 40, 50 calls a day coming in. Well, you know what? That's great. And we're blessed. But what happens if those calls start to decrease? That's usually my pulse in the market. So instead of waiting for that to decrease, how do I uptick it? So I said to myself, okay, we're converting at 5% of everything that comes in. There's 95% in the ground. Like, do not let that rain hit the ground. What am I doing to filter that? So that's why I went ahead immediately and hired 8 extra inside sales agents to make a total of 10 that can bang out about 3,000 to 10,000 calls a week. So that means that we can grab leads and grab opportunity from the ground, let alone answer more opportunity upfront, while we also invest in a strategy to, you know, pivot to different buyers and things like that. We have a huge presence online. We've always had it, and that's been our foundation. But right now it's teaching our agents, keeping their head up, making sure that they are investing in themselves, arming themselves, whether it's from a financial standpoint, a lender standpoint, a leadership standpoint, because one of the worst things that we have in this environment is our minds. 50% of our issue is ourselves. So look, selling houses, people open doors, they sell a house. But, you know, to get in front of things, you have to think on your feet, you have to get ahead, you have to invest, and you have to run to the fire.
One of the things I love, you know, working hand in hand with you and watching is that you get a chance to see from a strategic and more or less a coaching kind of X's and O's. And it seems really powerful when you describe it this way. So your top agents and the ones that you're training up are now empowered to really go and do the most high value skill, which is the contact part of this contact sport. Interacting with these folks on a face-to-face basis, taking appointments, whether it's showing properties, whether it's listing appointments, and you're taking the initial contact out of their hands. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I
mean, look,
and the top teams, they close at 3 to 5%, right? If you can even get 2 or 3% hedge on that, I mean, the numbers are exponential.
Yeah, I mean, look, we are answering at a 70% clip. That means 30% of our leads are not being answered, and we have no idea what those leads were. But since we've instilled this new process, we're catching those leads. So as things potentially tighten up and less opportunities come, even though we still have so many opportunities, I'm just in the fight or flight mode. It's not disaster time. It's not pack it in time. No, it's run to the fire time. It's just a market share opportunity to take. And this is where our heads are at. You have to be obsessed with what you do and how you do it. You have to want it really bad. And we have agents that have just started in real estate that have been here for a couple of years, that have been here for 10 years plus. Our core group is still here together, and they're very tight. And so the good thing about being in this type of environment is there's so much collaboration, so much knowledge sharing, which then helps people move. But there are a lot of agents outside of our office that, at some point, if you don't have a book of business, if you don't have, if you haven't set yourself up for the rainy day, and I call it the thunderstorm, you're going to be SOL. But this is also where teams like ours have a great product and can take a really good agent that has great foundations and put them in an assembly line. I've built businesses and built this company on a reverse engineering idea and concept where things that I can't do, you hire for. What the things I don't like as an agent, paperwork and XYZ, the things that I didn't want to focus on, that's where we created these various departments and pieces of the chain, which have then put more time back, commodity time, right? So again, it's always a constant work in progress, but it's all about training. It's all about systems. Systems do not fail.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. Share with me, as this market is pivoting, it's clear. I mean, we've seen a couple of these cycles. Anytime things get a little hard, those who are amateurs, who are just kind of picking up, the extras, the abundance, kind of get pushed to the side. And the real operators, the technicians, the ones with creativity and deep networks, are the ones who really move the needle and pick up that market share. Share with me maybe a couple things that you're seeing, maybe from a lending perspective or from an operations standpoint, on that transactional side that is going to be foundational to really separate the operators versus the Johnny-come-latelys.
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, it's all, like I said, half of this problem is in your mind. And so if you start to shut down, then you're going to automatically not be able to think clearly. If you start putting money in front of your consumer and your client, you're also not thinking clearly. And that means you're pushing people into a situation that it shouldn't be. Markets like this should not change your ethics. Right? When it comes to lenders, well, we train 4 or 5 times a month here, let alone on a daily, because we are very easily accessible. I believe in accessibility. If an agent needs something or an employee back of the house, whatever it may be, we're reachable because we are in a real-time motion game. And so constantly, I'm always on the phone with bankers, let alone from funds, like I said, lending institutions, local banks, et cetera. And I've built that relationship even more strong since COVID because I started to see, okay, if you don't have leads aren't everything, but what relationships are. And learning from those relationships is critical mass. So being able to at least 2 times a week catch up with my bankers, what's going on the street with you? How's your loan applications? What kind of programs you currently have, and what's coming down the pike? How are you adjusting? Because without money, there's no real estate. Right? Unless you have cash, so be it. But talk to me about the rates. Talk to me about what we should understand. How do we arm our agents? And then, of course, we pay that down the line. We had them recently on one of our trainings. But also, we tell agents who are self-employed, they're businesses within a businesses, that they have to get off their ass and they have to go and call these people. You should always be learning. It's not just always be closing. It's ABL, Always be learning.
Like from the consumer standpoint, we've just seen a half % interest rate hike, and then right behind that, you saw 0.75% interest rate, and we're probably going to see another 75 basis point hike. So, let's say someone was buying a $500,000 property, that payment may have gone up $500, $600, $800. Share with me and I've heard some, 40-year terms, interest only, the fancy ARMs that are coming back, and I know a lot of folks are kind of against the ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages, but no prepayment penalty anymore. What are you seeing kind of on a X's and O's basis that can help the consumer out there who feels maybe a little sticker shock right now?
Yeah, look, I think since COVID, home is more important than ever before. And I think there's things that, some people are not going to be spending money on, certain luxuries or maybe travel, to make sure that first and foremost themselves or their family is secure, whether it's a rental, whether it's a home purchase. Obviously, you will see rentals uptick a little bit more because some people that rate, half a point, a quarter point, can mess up their DTIs, their debt to income ratios. But there's such still a high demand for homes, and there's still a downward pressure on listing inventory because there are so many people that refinance at 2 and 3% that aren't going to move. And if they're not going to move, that means that ultimately there's less listings. So I don't really see at the moment a downward spiral in regards to pricing in the DMV at the very least. I can't speak to the rest of the country. Now, I'm in the same boat. Like I have certain investment properties that are 2.99%. I'd love to get the cash, but do I really want to move that around or do I secure that? So right now, in regards to homeowners or potential future buyers, it's understanding your numbers. What are your goals? How bad do you want a home? Have you looked at the analysis between renting versus buying? Have you been outpriced? Because, if you're buying a $500,000 house a year ago at 3%, and if it's now at 6%, it's like you're buying $1 million home,
right? Or
your buying power now has got cut in half.
Yeah.
So that's also reality. Now I can tell you this: we've been living in la la land, okay, and these are what the rates should be. And the problem is that we went from such a low point to a high point so fast that it hurts.
Well, there's some sticker shock, but if you look at the 200-year average, 200.
Yeah.
It's 8%.
Sure.
So we're still below that average. But certainly when you come from
But no one today cares about 100 years ago or 200 years ago. I'm not living with the dinosaurs, right? But but it is reality. That's why as a good agent, you have to be knowledgeable and you have to be able to direct people and guide them in the right direction. Look, whether you buy or you do not, it's better to arm yourself with knowledge so you understand where you are. Because even in any market, I've always told a renter and or a potential buyer, learn what your buying power is. Understand what it takes to get what you want, because you may make different behavior and decisions. You may not go buy that car. You may not go and spend this. You may not change your job.
It's financial literacy.
Certain things. Every single human being is a homeowner at some point.
Yeah.
And you're laying seeds, and we are farmers today. And we're also teachers and psychologists and babysitters and so many different things. We're very underpaid, right? But in the end, you have to accept your role as an advisor, as a partner. And I know here at One Street, we do everything we can to use all our resources to make you the most multidimensional human being and person first before you are a real estate agent, right? So
I can say that's
there's
true.
Opportunity for everyone. It'll all come down. I think the next couple of months, people will dig in and realize this is reality. It's not going to be a shock anymore. Right. But it does not change the fact that you need to learn. You need to understand. You need to have the right people around you to guide you. And it's okay if you miss out on this market, but be ready for the next one. Because a lot of times, even myself in my 23 years, I missed the 01 market. I missed the 05 market. I missed the financial crisis. I was the statistic where I lost 7 of my 9 homes during that time.
Well, I'm going to actually come back to that losing of the 9 homes. But let me ask you this. There are some people in this business who feel like if you got priced out of what you were shopping for 6 months ago, you should still snap up something because a rising tide lifts all boats. What are your thoughts of that? Folks pivoting to other neighborhoods in other submarkets.
Yeah. So during the last couple of years, which was nuts, was everyone was piling out of the city because they wanted more space. They wanted a pool, wanted an office, they're working from home. That's another thing that this new world that we're living in, people can work from home and they can go to the suburbs and they're not driving into work. And of course, that's shifting a little bit now. But the communities that really weren't seeing such a huge uptick over the last couple of years saw it because people were getting pushed out of the inner city or the main city of DC or higher priced areas. And then you started to see that those other communities rise up dramatically. Remember, the average salary in America, I think, is in the $38,000 to $42,000 range. And any pivot of interest rate could potentially adversely affect that person. And most of the deals where you find that is in that $250,000 to $700,000 range, right? So look, if you're out there trying to buy and you really need to purchase, you need to expand your horizons. Do the homework to say, okay, well, I wanted to live here. What is 20 miles or 10 miles farther out going to do for me? Can I still get what I want by driving a little bit more? Do I actually have to drive to work? Assess the situation. Or there's something called a buy time strategy. At some point, you may need to rent and save your down payment and then wait and get to where you want to get to. Don't have FOMO. One thing I've learned, like, honestly, it took a long time, but driving down the street being like, damn it, I should have bought this. I should have bought that. I should have done this. My God, the day that I let that go I felt like a big burden off my back. And the same thing for people, because in this type of market, you are going to be like, damn it, I should have bought a year ago. But instead of wasting your time stressing out on something you're not going to get again, what are you going to do not to lose again?
Fair.
Learn. Get yourself in that line to arm yourself to get ready to go.
Let's talk about a couple losses. Everyone sees, the success, the top team, thousands of transactions, but they don't understand the grind and the pain that it takes to get to that. Share with me, I know you said you lost a couple houses in the last downturn, but share something that maybe the folks who know you don't know. Something really, and obviously, look, you got a lot of people who are counting on you, so there's pressure that comes there, whether it's in business or in family, but something that like you carried on your shoulders and you pushed forward, and it's an example of what you were talking about as it relates to buying time. Because time is two things. One, you have the power of compound interest if you put one foot in front of the other. And it's also the only resource we can't get back. So share with us something that helps us understand how being a perseverant, like having that perseverance really helped get you to where you are today.
So I mentioned earlier being obsessed. I am so obsessed with what I do. And look, do I love real estate? I think it's one of the most unintelligent businesses I've ever seen. Now, when I say that, nothing against anyone, but it's such an easy barrier to entry. And it takes two people to do a transaction. You learn that over time, and it becomes very frustrating. Now, you going backwards, it's, look, when I got my license at 18 years old, I was in La La Land. I mean, there was no internet, there was no Zillow, there was just Yellow Pages.
You're faxing your contracts?
Yeah, we had carbon paper contracts. We had Sentry boxes. I had ADC maps. It was very hard to have someone follow you around, and you couldn't figure, like you're playing Battleship on the map.
A7.
So ultimately, it was a lot more manual labor, but we had nothing to compare to. So it was only getting better from what it was before. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I remember buying 9 homes by the time I was 21 years old. 100% financing, closing costs. Obviously you make commission as an agent. You're buying the homes. You're letting the seller stay there, let them rent back. So everything was gravy. I thought we were invincible.
What year was this?
This is between 2001 and 2003.
Okay.
I just hit about 21 years old at the time. And, it was wild, wild west when it came to lending. Anyone, if you were breathing, you got a loan. So anyways, just buying. And at some point, those houses went on a downturn. And, maybe I should have sold at the height of the market. I didn't have the experience to let it go. I was hoarding, but I never thought there was ever going to be an issue. So, and again, I should have taught myself better. I should have learned. I should have took it in. But I was like a kid in a candy store. So I bought all these properties, 100% financing. But when the market started hitting down.
But hold on, let me ask you this. So at the peak, you may or may not be comfortable sharing this info. You have 9 properties, is it?
It was 9. I bought 9 houses.
Single family, kind of townhouses?
Yeah, townhomes and single family houses.
What is our total, like at the peak, what is the value on books, on paper?
I mean, it had to be over $4 or $5 million.
Okay. All right.
Worth of loans.
So then it starts to come down.
Oh, yeah.
And you end up where?
Like in the half that. Okay. But remember this. So what transpired through that was obviously I didn't run away. I learned how to pivot instead of getting down on myself. Some things I couldn't control. Yes, I could control selling it, but I think what's wealthy for me is my mind. Like going through that, I gained a lot of wealth here, and it taught me what I never want to feel like. Right. I went down to a couple $100 in my bank account. I lost a lot of my agents at the time because I went up for the first 10 years and then down within that a couple year period before the next wave. Yeah. Because people, not because I lost them for something bad, because everyone went to get a salary job. And they had to get consistency. I stayed footholds, positioned in, anchored in to the business. And I'm like, okay, I got all this office space. What am I going to do? I got piling debt. I couldn't pay my rent bill for my office in Germantown. And I just kept on piling. I was like, okay, do I pay the rent bill? Do I pay the Verizon and the electric bill to make sure that I can make money? So I at least, figure out the priorities and pay the people in front of you.
You were in the squeeze.
Oh my God.
Tell me about the conversations with the tenants.
With the tenants that are living in my houses when I was losing them?
Correct.
Oh man. I mean, look, I told them straight up, look, I'm right now working on loan modification because that's what I was doing. So I learned I was trying to loan mod them where I could lower the balances or take the balances because I stopped paying the mortgages. I had to. I couldn't afford it. So, I mean, at some point, one by one, I had to let go of. But I let them know what's up because they would get notices. Yeah. What I started noticing from my clients was they weren't telling people. They were collecting their rent, telling them what's up. They were scared of being evicted. They had no idea what was going on. The world was caving in. And at that time was a big difference. Wall Street was taking a dump. Everyone was going nuts. No one felt that before. But what came out of me losing the homes was gaining knowledge of short sales. So I created a business out of it. Right. Wow. And then I started negotiating debt against companies like Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, multiple liens, figuring out how to, with the IRS tax code of insolvency, that's how I survived. A lot of clients that I knew, were losing their homes, and I created a business. And it was funny because one of the guys who was the attorney in that business was my roommate in College Park in my first house I bought, which he told me he was going to be a political science major and attorney. We kept in touch, and he actually ran the front end dealing with the bank. Right. At some point you had to have a legal side of it. But I survived by doing short sales, negotiating against banks, 4 liens, 7 liens, HOA liens, condo liens. I learned a lot. And it's not called the short sale, it's called the long sale. But that's how I survived in that couple year period between 2008 and 2011. Yeah. And that's also where I gained a lot of knowledge. I said, okay, I'm never going to feel like this again. Let's take a step back. Let's reassess what's going on. Do I want to continue doing real estate? Also, that definitely came through my mind. And at one point, I went to California, I worked at a hedge fund, and I was selling portfolios of homes. I would fix them up, and then we would rent them out, and then we would package them up and sell them as a performing asset. Yep. I was sitting in a cubicle making $10 an hour doing that, and then plus commission. And I lived in Newport Beach for 6 months. And then I was like, this is not for me. Then I almost moved to Costa Rica, and we were going to buy 3,000 acres of land, and it was all negotiated. And I thought I was going to go develop this huge mountain and this beach and build hotels and all this crap. And I think it was my dad maybe or somebody's like, hey, wake up. Like maybe you should finish what you started, Okay. I believe it was him, but if not, it was somebody, but I think it's my dad. But regardless of who it is, thank you, whoever it was. But at the same time, you had to accept those decisions, right? And so I said to myself, let me get back to what I'm good at. Let me finish what I started. Yeah. And that's when Zillow called.
Amazing. Amazing. What a great way to pass the baton. Before I jump on that train, which is a very important one, that's a great takeaway. Imagine the level of expertise. How sharp is your sword in the marketplace when you have to navigate 7, 8, 9 short sales, liens, and so forth. The level of service and the expertise that you can provide to your client base and to the team is...
Sacha, it was not only my homes that I was losing and every big bank calling me. One thing that I got to share is like my landlord, I think we got piled up $300,000 worth of debt on because I expanded so much. I had a mortgage company at the time and real estate. And I remember I would always answer the creditors. The credit cards, they would call me, which was odd for people. People would usually run away, right? Hey, what's going on? Hi, this is whatever card. I'm like, I don't have your money. I'm sorry. But they were, but every time I would answer the phone, they were shocked. So I never ran away from that. And I remember going to my landlord at one time and I realized I wasn't personally liable for the lease. So I went and sat down with him. I did a market analysis of the buildings. And I was like, listen, your buildings are 75% vacant. So I was like, let's wash this debt away and start over. Okay. So I was able to get rid of that. So for the years, as I kept on relearning from this problems, I was cleaning up all the issues behind me. Yeah. And at one point, my office in Germantown, I rented it to a ghostwriter, a chiropractor, a jeweler, an insurance agent. I literally had one corner with my admin in the entire 3,000 square foot space.
Yeah, you have to cover the expense.
So it was just crazy. And I remember when I was I short sold every one of my homes. I think I lost one to foreclosure, but that was tough. But I mean, look, the one thing that I can share with you and share with everyone is you have to have tenacity. I woke up every day blessed. I woke up every day with opportunity. I woke up every day not wanting to feel the way I felt. And all I knew was hard work and not wanting to feel like that. It was very tough, those lonely nights, the closing your eyes. You think the world's caving in on you. But all I had was my mindset, my obsession with winning, and just getting out of it. And I knew that no one could help me, and I'm not a baby. I'm not a charity case. And it's very hard for me to ask for help. And I know I have a chip on my shoulder, but I'm no better than anyone. But that time in my life was the hardest time, but also I would do it all over again for what I went through. Because when COVID came, I would put the gas on the pedal. I spent more money, and we did $1 billion in the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's
more
impressive.
than we did the 6 years before.
It's very impressive. And I'm going to transition, but I want to close that lane with one last piece. And thank you so much for being so candid. I mean, who shares these kind of things? I mean,
we're all real.
Right. There was one story that really hit me, and thank you. You took me to a game. We got to see the Wizards.
The Bullets.
I like it.
They're the only ones that won a championship. So let's keep it there.
All right. The Bullets. I like it. Like George Mirasan. I love that guy, man.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting story. We were on our way down there, and you were telling me about, it wasn't 03. It was closer to 08, 09. And the market just tanked, right? It took a big shit, right? That's the understatement of the century. As you said, if you have a pulse, you have a loan, right? We had people, 12, 15 houses upside down. But your tickets,
my God.
Your tickets.
I saved it.
Tell me.
Yeah, I mean.
Tell them.
Yeah, I remember when I was 18 years old.
Time out. This guy, first off, and I believe he's going to do it, the longest standing season ticket holder that will ever exist for the Washington Bullets Wizards, period. Now, here's how he saved it.
Yeah, I remember I was 18 years old. I was supposed to go to Florida State University. I couldn't get housing, so I didn't go. If I went to Florida State, I probably would not be in real estate. I'll tell you that right now. I'd probably be some fraternity guy or something, whatever, who knows what at that time, Party Central. Ended up going to Towson, got my real estate license in the summer before I went to college. And then I remember I'm a huge Jordan fan. I was collecting his shoes at 13 years old. I remember my mom always saying, "How many you have more shoes than everyone?" I was like, "Well, I was buying enough, flipping them to get one for free." So even though, I knew that's kind of my mindset. So anyways, huge Jordan fan. Even at 13, I'd work at a pizza place because we had the Chicago channel at the restaurant.
WGN.
So yeah, WGN. So I'd always watch, Jordan play. Jordan was like kind of my mentor, pseudo mentor, without him knowing he's my mentor, because the tenacity, how he made everyone better. I loved the game, and I loved what it was about. I looked deeper than just making a dunk happen or winning a game, just how you can rally the troops and the fierceness. And I remember writing poems about him and all this crazy stuff. But anyways, fast forward, 18 years old, I'm like, I think Jordan's going to come back and play, right? And I call all my friends, like, who wants to buy in? Like, shut up, Sam. They're 18 years old. No one has money. I don't have money. And I remember calling my credit card. I don't know if it was Wachovia at the time or whatever. I remember I had a $1,500 limit. And I called them up and I said, I need $7,662.25. They're like, "Sir, what is this number?" I was like, "That's the 25% deposit for these second row seats for the Wizards that I need." And they're like, "Okay, well, we need to pull your credit, blah, blah, blah." Luckily enough for me, I had a car at 16. I had a Discover card. I started early, so I had some trade lines. And so they were able to give me an $8,000 limit.
Okay.
And so I went down, and there was an article in the Washington Post that said, I put the deposit down. It was like in April or something like that, April or May. And I put the deposit down, and then I remember the first week of September, they said there was a Washington Post article like, "Do or die for Wizards fans. Will he or will he not, return?" Because he was the president of the basketball operations, and because there was no refund policy, like you either lose your deposit or you pay the rest. So I had to pay the other $6,000 something because the deposit was like $1,552 something. And so I put the deposit down. I tried to get a bunch of my friends to jump in with me. Everyone thought I was nuts. And so I was like, screw everybody. Boom. I put it down, and he came back 3 weeks later, and I was like, yes. And I remember making flyers where it said Jordan versus the NBA. I posted around college.
Number 45.
Yeah, number 45. Well, he didn't wear 45 there. He wore 45 when he came back against Indiana wearing the 11s.
11, okay.
11s. And then he lost in the playoffs that year. But he came back wearing 23. Ugliest jersey ever. And he was the worst thing that ever happened to the Wizards because he wasted 2 years of our lives. But it was awesome sitting next to the guy because he would come out of the tunnel and I would be right there. So awesome from that point of view, that the mind, like where the mind was, how I finagled it my way. But let me tell you this. I sold half the season out of my apron as a waiter because I couldn't afford to go to the games, but I sold enough to go for free. And then later down the line, I, was able to, sit closer to courtside. And now where I sit, I'm kind of like the DC Spike Lee, you know what I'm saying? But, look, the Wizards games, like whoever gets a chance to actually go with me or, people in the future will come. Like it is one of my favorite things to do. Like people always ask me, you take vacations, you do this. No, I don't. Okay. Leave me alone. I love what I do. And I'm having too much fun. But when I'm at that game, it's not about business. It's about, I just love it. It reminds me of our business. It's fierce. It's competitive. It's a team sport. And like when you're in there listening to the coaches and the player psychology, like I'm like, oh, you're in the game, man. And
it's
like
for sure. Look, thank you for taking me. We sat literally next to Steve Kerr, right? And we were watching him.
Was the Golden State game?
That's right.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How'd you finagle that? That's good for you. That's good for you.
Just the timing worked out.
They won the championship.
It was incredible to watch the intensity, the organization, the pivots on the fly. And frankly, right? The fact that you took that risk, you were in a tough financial situation, but you saw it, that this is my passion. This is what I want. I mean, like you said, there is a parallel to this business.
One thing, Sacha, just to share with everybody, I always bought things I couldn't afford. And it motivated.
We call that an incentive, right?
It motivated me.
Yeah.
It motivated me. I remember, not to say this matters, but a funny story is like, look, I went to an auction. I bought an S-Class when I was 18, 19 years old. And then I would give it to my tenants in my house in College Park if they did well, because they used to help me with my homework. And I would give them a free rent bill or free or deduction of rent and or gas bill, electric bill. I'd give them the seats as an incentive. I knew how to outsource. But if I actually took my time to do everything, it could have been faster. But like I was just busy doing real estate deals. Every 15-minute break walking from class to class was just me on the phone, So I've always had this mindset. And I think going through the trials and tribulations of 2001 and 2008, and just taking risk.
COVID.
Right. But like today, I'm way more balanced and way more mature. I'm still a huge risk taker. But this is part of the theme that we're talking about. And everyone's pivoting.
I'm a risk mitigation kind of guy. So it's calculated. Wherever you came from, what I've seen in the last year is it's calculated, right? You're an operator, period. Which takes me to my next point. A good friend of mine calls Zillow the Google of real estate.
I call it that.
Do you really?
Yeah, I always say that.
I mean, it's true. Like almost all homeowners start their search there.
I also call our company kind of like a Google of real estate. Just like very fun. If you've been to their offices, you would understand a little bit more. But it's just kind of really cool.
I think it's better.
Yeah.
That said, share with me their influence on the market. Share with me what that partnership looks like. Share with me what you think is coming down the pike.
Well, right now you have a constriction of leads, right? You have a constriction of listings. So listings are getting sucked into major public websites, which then if there's less listings, there's less marketing equals less leads equals less opportunities for agents that are paying customers. Just hands down what it is. I've always set out on a journey to never be dependent on anyone. So like I know that if I have my plan B, C, and D, if something hit the fan, I know I can take responsibility and operate that way. I learned that through 2008. Now, in regards to Zillow, look, Zillow, I'm a paying customer. They are an amazing platform that I took a risk on that allowed me to change the archaic industry to give something of value. Basically, value being some type of lead opportunity. In the real estate business, brokers have a duty just to supervise. That's it. It's walls, doors, and hang a license. But through technology, it allowed us to grow and be a bigger fish, and then give opportunity to build a team. And so, in 2011, when I got that phone call and I picked up that zip code, I saw that it worked. And then I realized if it works, I need to buy more. If I need to buy more, I can't be in the same place. Let me go out and hunt some people down. Got some people, start building the crew. And the same crew that I built from that time is still here.
It's true.
The Chris's, the Hoviks, the Leslies, the Maxes, all these guys and girls that are here are still here and committed. And so they've all grown in their own portfolio. So Zillow has helped change our lives from the sense of an opportunity to level up. And remember, we're paying for leads. They're not closing my deals. So it still takes a good operator, a good leader, good systems, good training, etc., to be able to make that happen and good people.
True.
So they gave us an opportunity, which I went all in on. And I can share a funny story. There was one point on Zillow, when you go online, there was 3 slots where you would see 3 agents on the front.
Yeah.
Then I remember my rep, who was awesome, this guy, Cody the man. Hi, Cody. How are you?
Shout out to Cody.
Cody, congratulations on the babies. So ultimately, he calls me up one day, and it was like the bat phone. I had like a special ring for it because every time they would call, I'd just give my credit card. And I had an intern at the time named Tom. Tom Fiola, if you're out there, what's up? So I remember he goes the night before, he's like, we're opening a 4th slot. I was like, what does that mean? He's like, just pick a bunch of zip codes. You may get a couple. I was like, all right. So I took a bunch of zip codes. I basically took every zip code I could figure out. I gave it to him because I just listened to his advice. And I come out of the listing appointment, and I remember I was in Muddy Branch Road area at a listing, and I come out and he calls me and I was like, what's up, man? He's like, bro. I was like, what do you mean? What bro? He's like, you got them all. I was like, what? I went from a couple $100 a month to over $30,000 a month in spend. And then I was like, holy bejesus. Yes, that was way too much. I couldn't believe it. He's like, do you want them? I said, screw it. Let's go. And so it was me. There was no CRM. There was none of that. It was just me. I was the one who was the quarterback, but quarterback to who? So I was like, I got all these leads, and I was like, all right. I was at that time, I was the accountant, the CP. I was everything. I was doing it all.
Spinning plates, right?
Yeah, but that's what I knew. I worked in utter chaos. So that opportunity allowed me to then go out and get other talent. And then by doing that, we kept on reinvesting in the business and then building the systems. And then here we are 10 years later, with an opportunity in our hands.
How many reviews?
We have over 2,000 reviews now.
That's big.
And so look, Zillow, it's a great company that's led by great people. If it wasn't for the reps that I worked with, who are kind of like financial advisors, if you will, I wouldn't be where I'm at today as well. It takes 2. Right? Like you can give me leads, but I have to close them. And so, yes, being a paying customer, you're getting what you pay for. They've always been great. Always that ecosystem. I got to learn a lot from them. You get to go to visit their offices. You get to speak to them. So I really evolved as an operator and a leader by learning and seeing the opportunity. Because when you're an agent, a lot of times you're just on your own,
you're in your own
island. And so they allowed us to grow and recruit and build something. And, we crushed it. And that allowed us to leads equal loyalty, leads equal retention. You're giving something of tangible value to someone, not just my brain and my hand and my work ethic and office space, etc. But
opportunities.
Now, what was crazy was I saw the shift go from I want to work with Sammer only to I'm working with one of your team members. You start to see, because again, when you're on your own, you're a control freak. You want to do everything on your own. You can't trust anyone, but that's the reverse engineering part. At some point, we went out and hired an attorney to run the company. We went out and hired team leads. We went in there and put in certain technology systems that can help operate. And in the last 2 years, to your point of when we first talked about Zillow, look, there's a constriction of lead flow. And I also mentioned a key phrase, which is an opportunity. There's opportunity to grab market share. And that's what we've been building. That's what we've been investing in. Now, I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. I never have and never will in this life, meaning that I'm also in parallel still building our technology, our SEO, our SMO, our brand, our foundation. We still need to have eyeballs and visibility on every corner, no matter what we do. The world is a virtual space. It's not the metaverse we're talking about, but people these days are not coming to your office. They're coming to your online office.
Yeah.
Your interview without you being there. I always tell agents, have you ever Googled yourself? Would you work with yourself?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. Please don't answer it about yourself. Okay. But moreover, these are questions that are important, whether it's a reputation. It doesn't have to just be about the real estate industry.
It's true.
But Zillow was a catalyst. It was a trampoline. We've worked well together. But in my head, I always have to think, what if I had to stand on my own 2 feet?
Right.
Can you answer that question? What if they're not there anymore? What if you can't get leads anymore?
Well, it's
what
dynamic,
are you going to do?
just like anything else.
And
right?
that's what I'm working on and continuously working on and will always be working on is a safety net to not put all my eggs in one basket, no matter what it is in this life.
That's a great point. So let's transition a bit in terms of the different parallels. Obviously, you own a bunch of different businesses. You're an entrepreneur. We're just about a year in, just less than a year into this commercial division kind of being built out, and it's great to work hand in hand with you guys. I've got My candle nut beads just came back from Hawaii.
I think you've lost your mind.
I have lost my mind, but represent, Maui.
But I mean, that's what they do. We're all psychotic. So congratulations.
I went there. I took a look at real estate because that's what I do. We're underwriting a $40 million shopping center over there. We've got our portfolio of apartment buildings here. We're helping our clients with their investment properties. We're doing restaurant business. And I can say, watching you operate on the resi side and utilizing that skill set in terms of systems and operations on the commercial side has been really exciting to be part of. Share with me kind of globally, what are you most excited about kind of with our progress so far and where we're going? And on top of that, the value add to that giant book of business, those relationships that you've nurtured over the years, the people who believe and trust in you and the team, where are we in their mind and where's that going?
Yeah. So hopefully I'll remember all these questions, but first and foremost, like the commercial division, I've always wanted to build a virtual boardroom. I've always said that even a long time ago. And we've done that by bringing in great leadership. We all wear multiple hats. I'm the janitor, I'm this, I'm that. I'll do whatever it takes to win. So it doesn't matter. I have no issue. And ultimately, one of my favorite things about the commercial division is being able to work with people you want to work with, right? I think learning the word no and learning that you have the choice of what direction you want to go in is very valuable and very powerful. So the first and foremost thing I'm excited about and have been is the people that we've put together. The team is just awesome. And you don't really get that type of opportunity to handpick and have a cohesive group that is really walking the same line, learning from each other, not being petty, but like willing to step in here, willing to step in there, willing to talk, willing to communicate, not holding something back and like we're not in high school or something, you know what I mean? So like that's the first and foremost step that I love, the fact that we can cultivate that and we can control that environment. Second is, of course, from a transactional point of view, we're doing something special. We are taking a lot of experienced people that come from a great diverse backgrounds, whether it's finance, data, real estate, commercial, residential, whatever it may be, operating, running businesses, selling businesses, all that good stuff, and property management, asset management. And we've collectively created an awesome company. And in that company, there's so many people that are going to benefit from it, whether it's institutions, government, et cetera, and our own people here, because what we've created also, before we get deeper into commercial, is a ladder of opportunity. You have a lot of agents here that at some point will start with rentals, buyers, sellers, investors, and they'll go to commercial, or they'll never see that. They'll never understand it. They'll never ask about it. They'll never do it because they're not exposed to it. What's cool about OneStreet is there's no ceiling. So by having this division, you're also giving, whether they do it or not, you're giving opportunity for growth. And I think that is important. I think one thing that people lack in this society, in the world maybe, is opportunity and knowledge and access to things. And there's the key word. I know you said it a lot. And I know we're not just selling buildings and building buildings. We are building communities. We are building people up. We're giving people access to something that they've never had. And sitting here on this podcast today, I mean, look, I typically black out when I talk, but I know there's value in what we're talking about. I know that someone out there listening to this will gain even something from it. And if you are listening to this, be very thankful, be very blessed, be very, understanding that you have opportunity and you have to go after it and you have to invest in yourself. And I'm very bullish on our commercial division because I'm bullish on the people, right? Look, we'll always transact, but to find the niche of group of mindsets, that is value. That to me is the creme de la creme thing that we have. I know that the other stuff will come because the people are there. The system is there. The trust is there. The respect is there. And so, look, we can sit here and toot our horns, blah, blah, blah about numbers and whatever, but our actions will speak very loud. Our inclusionary business is going to speak very loud. And what we're going to do and accomplish for our city and, the connections that we've made and have built and continue to build, and just from affordable housing to development to, like I said, having access to knowledge. Exactly. Like, this doesn't have to be the big boys club only. It can be for everyone. And so again, this is the reverse engineering part. This is the part where, look, not everyone gets picked at the basketball court, right? I've been there, but there's an opportunity for everyone, and we believe in that, and that's hard to find, and especially when people actually believe in it.
I like it. Yeah, for sure. The team is insane. It's like SEAL Team 6, right? Everyone's got their skill set, and it's an honor to be part of this, man. I appreciate you coming in today. I know you got some fun stuff lined up for the rest of the day.
Not really.
No?
Just kidding. No, man, just getting back on the grind. And I'm planning for the next 3 to 5 years and 10 years. One thing it's really important. A lot of us plan for tomorrow. I'm thinking way ahead. I have to think 10 years, 20 years down the line. And it's really important that, I get back in. I'm right now in the planning, execution, strategy mindset. I'm taking everything in. I'm listening to people around me, and I'm just going to make our own determinations of what to do and how to move. But right now it's, full force on the attack, and making sure our core foundation of our business and everyone here is leveled up so that they can win this war.
And I think from my perspective, I'm just going to close it out that what you see in the news is never as bad as they say, and it's never as good as they say. If you understand the news business, they say if it bleeds, it leads. So it's got to sound terrible. So
my last tidbit to you guys is you're writing your own story. So while you want to read the news, read your own story, and you're writing it. Sacha, thanks, bro. It's been real. Rents due always. Peace.